Yo, 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 what's good, people? Just a little quick live. I'm just finishing up in the studio here. You can see the Canon SLR, DSLR camera in the background. I don't know if you guys have any of those kind of cameras, but I picked that up probably in 2019. But anyways, this is your boy Tony Sway in the building. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. So it's been a minute. Hey, Denzel, what's good, man? Appreciate you. Yeah. So um, today I actually want to talk about uh, AI music. I guess we can't avoid it anymore, right? This whole AI music, almost like a revolution of AI in general, right? I guess it's affecting a lot of different industries in general, but I specifically want to talk about music and how what I see for the future, 10, 15 years from now, and why I think musicians and artists alike should be a little worried. I think, not to sit around worrying about it, but I think that we should acknowledge what's happening. And I know there's people out there that are actually, fighting for, artists' rights, as far as AI. And there's probably I heard of some lawsuits happening right now as well when it comes to what AI can and can't do. And there's obviously some benefits from AI and how musicians can use it in their studio to benefit them. So, that's kind of what I'm talking about tonight, real quick, as I'm wrapping up a quick studio beat session, filming and whatnot. But I do think artists should take it seriously. Um, we have to figure out how, you know, we got to make sure that we don't allow the AI to completely replace real people. And what I mean by that is that, there should always be a human element in music. And I don't think all music will ever be all AI. People want to see real artists, people want to see real people. I think right now AI is kind of exciting and it's fun for people to kind of play around with. I see all these Suno videos of like Michael Jackson and Tupac. It's like getting out of hand. Have you guys seen the Michael Jackson Suno um, the Michael Jackson Suno video where he's getting like the KFC? Gotta keep it, can't slow me down and stop and out of this town. Hoo, hoo, Friday victory, baby. There's a Michael Jackson. He goes, "Nice chicken, pal," and then he starts doing all these dances, and it's kind of crazy because it's like, if I would have saw this when I was younger, I would have thought it was real. If I just would have stepped into the future as a 1990s kid or an 80s kid growing up, I would have just thought that was really Michael Jackson. So the AI is getting so good that it's like, it's kind of scary, right? So I must admit, I've been watching those videos and being like, man, this is crazy. It's interesting, it's entertaining. So I don't think people are going to be able to stay away from it because the entertainment factor is there. It's the new thing, and people are always looking for that new thing. And I have to admit that, based on sales and streams in the industry of where it's at, music has got boring for the consumers in a lot of levels. Like, and I can argue this point because, how many people are actually purchasing from the people that they listen to. Are A lot of people are basically listening to a Spotify playlist. They're not actually going and putting money into that artist's pocket all the time. And there's obviously some people that are being supported. Of course, you got the Chris Browns. He has a whole brand. I mean, he has a clothing line. He has, fan meet and greets where people are willing to drop more money than they would ever spend on an album just to take a picture with him, which is a smart business plan. So shout out to Chris Brown for being an innovator when it comes to getting your money as a musician. And I think musicians are going to have to become more and more innovative as the years go by, because everything that's happening right now is setting the stage for everything that's happening right now is setting the stage for more AI music to take over. So I think musicians are going to have to get more hands-on with their fans. They're going to have to be, we're going to have, musicians, and this includes me as well. We're going to have to be more personal with our audience. We're going to have to make direct connections with our audience. So, so we can have those, more of a stronger relationship with the people that like what we do. That's going to become more important, because if we don't, I believe that what would be the difference between a song and that's AI and just some random song you hear, but you don't know who that person is. There's no way to connect with them. You never see them speak. You never hear from them. They never reply to your messages. They never reply to your comments. There's no personal connection. There's no meet and greet. And I think that's the danger that a lot of musicians, especially independent musicians, face in this AI wave that's going on right now, is that if you don't become personal with your audience, you might just lose out to a AI artist. Because right now, the music, if you listen to a lot of the AI music, is getting pretty good. I mean, I have a trained professional ear, and I can hear, there's some weird EQ going on. There's it's a very high frequency that I hear when I listen back to the AI songs, but they're really pretty good. I mean, and most of the stuff I hear is a lot of people are uploading remakes of AI music on YouTube. And it's pretty interesting, right? They got like 50 Cent in the club, but remade for Motown in the 60s. They got like Justin Timberlake, but done as a 60s soul song. It's pretty interesting what they're doing. And I admit I've been listening to it and be like, man, I've been listening to it and just going, this is not bad. I mean, it's not better than a real artist necessarily, but it is getting pretty good. And you read the comments, and a lot of people are actually enjoying it. And the videos are getting a lot of love. So that should scare real artists that are not really on their grind. If you're not really perfecting your brand, if you're not really being personal with your fans. I mean, I'm the type of cat that I got my fans are in my phone, bro. And I'm not going to show the phone because I don't want to show people's numbers and stuff. But I literally, have my, big supporters, my top supporters. I got, they're in my WhatsApp. Like, I talk to them on a regular basis. I stay in touch with people. And I believe that, musicians moving forward, we're all going to have to be more personal with the people that like what we do. Because I truly believe, especially for independent artists, if you don't become more personal with your, audience that is checking for you, you're probably going to get wiped out by AI music. If if you're just one of those people that just post a song, you don't have no connection to your fans, there's no meet and greet, you don't do no lives, you don't talk to nobody, you ain't got nobody in your phone, you have no personal connection with your audience. That's probably going to hurt a lot of musicians. And that's, the brutal truth, because the AI music is better than it's getting better or just as good as the average song that you hear. Because, when you hear the average song, a lot of stuff is very computer based, very programmed anyways, right? A lot of music is very programmed and digitized, and everything is perfectly synchronized a lot of the times. And so it's becoming very difficult to tell the difference between AI generated song and a song made by real humans. And the lines are being blurred, excuse me. So I think that, musicians and artists, you guys need to be worried, because the AI music is coming to take your spot. These, Look at what Timbaland did. His artist didn't necessarily go anywhere, but there's an R&B artist right now that's blowing up the R&B charts on iTunes, and something Monet. You guys can check it out, but she's literally on the charts, and people are literally supporting it. I mean, it could be bots. Maybe the label's fluffing up her numbers. Like maybe they're not. I'm not saying they are. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want no lawsuits or anything like that. But a lot of times these days, big time artists are actually using bots and streaming, farms and whatever to fluff up their numbers so they can appear on the charts or appear on the Spotify charts or whatever it is. And a lot of them do get away with it. And I won't say who, but allegedly. And I can't confirm that it's true, but this is what I've heard from the grapevine, that many big artists that we all love are utilizing things like bots to add streams to their songs. So I don't know how legit the Monet AI R&B artist is. I don't know if people are really checking for it like that, or if it's just like, bot, maybe the label paid for a bunch of bots. I don't know. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but maybe real people are checking. Maybe it's a 50-50. Maybe there's bots, but then maybe there's real people also checking for it. And I listened to it. It sounds decent. And that the average person who's not a music, I'm like a music nerd at the end of the day. The average person doesn't have the trained ear like me, or you know what I mean? Not that I'm Quincy Jones or something, but the average person is not listening to music as intensely as a music producer like I would. And they just hear something and they're just like, oh, this sounds cool, let me vibe out. They're not really tripping about all the details. And that's why I think, musicians and artists should actually be, they should actually be somewhat worried, because the average people they're not thinking that deeply about the stuff that they're listening to on Spotify or YouTube. People are usually not thinking about it too hard. They just see something, they click on it, whatever, and they're like, oh, this is cool. They're not thinking about, oh, is this person real? They're not really thinking about that. So I think that musicians and artists, singers, rappers, every single genre, we're all going to need to really step up our game, because as it stands right now, AI is probably not going anywhere. Now, they're probably gonna be getting sued and different things like that by different people, and so it's probably gonna be interesting to watch. It's gonna be interesting to see how the whole AI music scene plays out. But hey, is anybody up at this time? You know what I mean? I'm a late night type of person, so if you're checking out the stream, make sure you say something. But what do you guys think? Is anybody in here artists or musicians? Anybody in here who's bought beats from me? I've sold thousands of beats on YouTube. Is anybody online? If there's anybody that's bought a beat from me, who's a musician, who's an artist, singer, or whatever, let me know your thoughts about the AI music revolution that's happening right now. And are you guys particularly worried? But also too, a lot of people are not really making a living off their music. It's very few people, and there's very few people that are, independent, actually making a living off of streams. There is people doing it, but it's not the norm. The average people that you see on a Spotify have under 1,000 plays. And as you know, they're not even paying people for under 1,000 streams now on Spotify. And everything's kind of set the stage for the AI to really take over. And of course, there could be some foul play at hand. I'm not saying by who, but people can always break the rules and try to get away with things. And when it comes to all this happening with all this new AI music that's coming out, there's a lot of lines that are being blurred, and what is legal and what is illegal. And it seems like the rules are being made as they go, and they haven't haven't necessarily figured everything out yet. From what I've seen, it's kind of, the lines are blurred. I'm seeing all these AI remake music pages, and I don't even know what the legalities on that is, because the AI is making like original sounding remakes that sound nothing like the original version of the song, right? They're like, you'll see like a 50 Cent in the club, but 50s Motown or 60s Motown version of In the Club, and it doesn't sound like the original song. So I'm not 100% sure what they're going to do as far as copyright, and is the money going to go back to some of the artists that are being copied, or it's a very interesting situation to see play out. And while it's playing out, people are definitely capitalizing off of it. While this whole AI music thing is playing out, I see all kind of pages getting big on YouTube, and people, just random folk, are like capitalizing off the whole music thing, and having the AI system do remakes and things like that. So I think artists, y'all need to be worried, man. And I'm kind of disappointed that where's everybody? I don't see that people are that concerned. I know a lot of people will watch the playback and comment, but y'all should be really concerned about, if you're a musician, y'all should be really concerned about the AI. But I mean, if you ain't making money off your music, maybe you ain't concerned, because maybe you're not making anything anyways. But if you do have a dream to make it in music, and you're just chilling thinking that this is all good, it's not all good. Like, you're gonna have to adapt, and you're gonna have to outperform the AI if you want to still stick around as a musician. That is my personal belief. I'm not saying this is factual, but my personal belief is that you're going to have to outdo the AI, and you're going to have to use it. Well, I'm not using it right now, but you're going to have to find ways that it can be beneficial for you. Maybe not like making a full song, but maybe it'll become beneficial in certain ways. Like, I know there's actual songwriters right now that are using, they're using like Chat GPT to help them with lyrics. I think that's a very, I think using Chat GPT, I have never used it for lyrics, but I think that's more of an ethical way that you can use AI. That's not, and you're not obviously not going to be infringing on nobody's ideas. That's just, I think that's a good way to use it. But some people are going to be abusing the system of, some people are going to be abusing the AI and blurring the lines of the copyright, while all these rules are being made in real time. So it's a very interesting thing. And musicians like me, we're going to have to take a stand, obviously, if it goes too far. Because if I see somebody replicating my whole page, right, and that's kind of scary, right? Because it's like, this is your intellectual property. So I know there was some things that happened with an actual local person who's from Seattle, like me, a hip hop producer out in Seattle. I know Timbaland had used his stuff, and there was a lot of controversy over that. I won't talk about that really, but it's kind of dangerous what this whole AI stuff can do. And my goal is to basically preach people to use it in an ethical way that you can feel good about at the end of the day, that you're not stealing from people that are, grinding and putting that hard work in. But if you are doing that, if you're taking from real musicians and real artists and trying to cut them out the picture, I ain't with that. You know what I mean? So we're going to have to fight, in court, and we're going to have to fight with the system of copyright and different things to make sure that AI is used ethically. Because right now there's some unethical practices happening with the use of AI, where the lines have been blurred. Like I said, you're seeing all these Michael Jackson videos pop up. And from what I hear, the Michael Jackson estate, they're in talks with some of these AI companies to whatever, smooth the situation out, or maybe they have a lawsuit going or something of that. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I've heard. I heard that, the Michael Jackson estate is not too happy about all these videos floating around with him. I would imagine that they would at least want some kind of percentage of whatever is earned from those companies. I would imagine that, why they're not going to want Michael Jackson's likeness thrown around for free without some kind of profit. So, Michael Jackson was out, a businessman. He owned the Beatles catalog. I heard that he bought, rights to Eminem's catalog as well, or, so, I think musicians, if you're a musician who's listening right now, or maybe you catch this on the playback and you have a dream of making it, or maybe you're already making it maybe you're already making a living off your music. I think that we're going to have to elevate our game, and we're going to have to go 10 times harder when it comes to branding ourselves. And to be honest, we're probably going to have to lawyer up. And I've been preaching that to all my artists and all my musicians out there. You're going to have to lawyer up eventually, because, if you're somebody who's doing this at a professional level independently, you're going to have to lawyer up, because the AI, these companies are getting dangerous upon what they can do with your art, and basically blatantly stealing, straight out just stealing stuff. From what I hear, that they've been straight out just throwing people's music in their system and copying it. There has to be some kind of legalities discussed when it comes to that, because it's coming to a point where it's not ethical anymore. You know what I mean? So can they AI somebody's bank account? I mean, really think about that. Could they AI somebody's bank account? Like, I don't even know if that doesn't even make sense, right? So if they can't AI your bank account, why should they be able to AI your music without your consent? That's ridiculous. So there has to be some kind of legality that takes place with lawmakers. There has to be some kind of, there has to be a code of ethics when it comes to the AI. Right now, AI is just kind of wild, wild west, but, it can't become lawless. We can't allow it to become lawless. There has to be rules and legalities when it comes to music in order for the business to succeed. And that's just what it is, man. So, and if you don't think that, then, if you have a dream of making it in music and you don't think there needs to be any kind of legalities, well, my friend, you will never make money then. Like there has to be laws and legalities and copyright laws in order for you to make a living off of what you do musically. You know what I mean? Because there's so many royalties and so many avenues of royalties that you can get, and so many different ways that you can get paid. So maybe if these AI companies partner with, real musicians, and they strike a deal, hint, hint, maybe they strike a deal and make it more ethical, you know what I mean? Make it an ethical situation, instead of just blatantly taking people's stuff from. And that's alleged. That's what I've heard. I'm not claiming that's what they do, but from what I hear, they're stuffing a lot of music in their system and allegedly stealing it. So, but I cannot confirm that. It doesn't seem like it would play out the right way in the long term if people are stealing that music and then putting it out online to places like Spotify and YouTube to make profit legally. That should be against the law. It doesn't. But again, a lot of the lines are blurred when it comes to this AI music. And it seems as though that they're making up things in real time. But I think eventually some of the legalities behind it will get straightened out. I mean, at the end of the day, music is based on copyright law. So they don't play around. I remember back in the day, if you guys were, you guys remember websites like R&B Exclusive, where you could just go get you could find like leaked records from like Neo and Chris Brown and all the 2000s era R&B artists. they were leaking all their unreleased music or music that had never that was going to come out, and they would just steal it, right? They were pirating, like, their emails. And I used to send my music to this place, because I was just trying to get heard, and I would get like 20,000 downloads on my Around the Way Girl mixtape, so but the people that were running those sites ended up getting sent to prison for life. So when these copyright laws iron out when it comes to AI, there could be some people that get in some big time trouble. And I always say that, you know, always be diligent and patient when it comes to making money. Don't try to make money like criminal minded. You can't be criminal minded when it comes to business, because it comes back to bite you. So what I mean is, when you're looking for that quick buck with your music, are people that are trying to steal, artists' music and then run it through the AI system and then try to, upload it to Spotify and YouTube. Yes, you might make a couple dollars, but when they iron out all these rules for the AI, you might get in trouble for it. And that's why I told you guys this story about the R&B exclusive. Anybody in here who remembers that site, R&B exclusive? I know I'm not the only one. It was really big in 2009, 2010. And the guy who ran the site is doing life in prison. So, they didn't catch him right away. It was going on for years. And, that's unfortunate. I mean, they used to feature my music, so I'm not trying to speak bad on them, but, they abused copyright law, and now the guy's in prison for life over music, which is kind of silly, right? So, I'm sure he was a fan more than anything, but he broke the law. You're stealing people's music, you're messing with people's money. And when you mess with people's money, you're going to get in trouble with that. So I would imagine that once these AI rules get ironed out, I believe that it will become more ethical in time. But right now, you're going to see probably a lot of foul play, a lot of stealing of people's music, a lot of kind of just unethical practices happening when it comes to AI music. You're going to see more of it eventually down the line. I believe the rules will get ironed out, and some of the people that are profiting off of it right now, they might get in trouble, and they can get in trouble quite badly. Like I said, like I shared with you, I used to feature my music on the site R&B exclusive. I used to just send it to their email. That guy is doing life in prison because he used to leak all famous people's music that were literally signed, Neo, Chris Brown. These guys were signed to multi-million-dollar record deals, and they were stealing the music from their email and leaking it. And at the time, nobody got in trouble for it. But once the system caught up to what they were doing, dude's getting life in prison. Now, I never forgot when I saw that on the news, and I'm like, man, I never physically saw what the guy looked like, but I just remember, man, I used to send my tracks. Like, I wanted to leak my own stuff because nobody really knew me at the time. So I was trying to leak my stuff, and I was getting 10 to 20,000 downloads on the R&B exclusive site. And then a couple years after the site was really big, I just remember watching the news, and they show the guy, going to prison and, doing life in prison because he cost the labels millions and millions of potential dollars that could have been in the label and the artist's pocket. So they didn't play it, they took that very seriously. So I don't really know where the record labels stand as far as AI music goes. It's, only thing that I've heard is the stuff with Timbaland and his artists. And then there's one R&B artist that's blowing up the R&B charts on iTunes that apparently was signed to a multi-million-dollar deal. If that don't make you mad, imagine you're a starving artist right now. You are writing songs in your basement, and then you hear about an AI musician that's not a real person that is literally, getting a multi-million-dollar deal. If you're a starving artist and you have dreams of making that, if that don't light a fire under you, then I don't know what will. And I'm not really mad at the person who's doing that, right? Because I believe there's a real lyricist behind the songs. So, I don't know what the legalities will be for that artist in the future when these copyright laws get ironed out. But as far as I know, they were using it in a more ethical way, whereas they're putting lyrics, their own lyrics they wrote, so they have real human input. So I'm not necessarily mad at that. I think that's kind of cool, but I do think it's dangerous and is a warning sign for people that really want to be musicians. And I'm surprised so many of you don't have nothing to say about this, but maybe none of you are musicians. So hey, if you're not a musician, don't worry about what I just said. But if you are a musician or you have a dream of being making it in the industry one day, or at least making a living, being able to pay your bills, and I can tell you right now, it is pretty cool to just make music and not have to worry about anything else. And I've been able to do that for a long time now. I don't do a lot of crazy things with my money, or I don't go crazy with it. I live a real modest life. I mean, well, I ain't gonna lie. I like to get nice clothes and stuff, little Versace shirts and things. But besides just looking after my family and traveling back and forth from here in the UK, I'm not a big spender on a lot of things. I've owned the same car for a while now. Like my favorite old school, I have a 1997 S420 Benz that I bought like in 2000, and at the end of 2015. I just do all the maintenance on it, keep it in good shape. Got some nice rims on there. That's my favorite car, because I saw it on the 50 Cent, Get Rich, hit that movie, the Get Rich Die Trying. I saw that car on that movie and I was like, man, that's my favorite car. So, I bought it back in the day when, my Climax record was really climbing the YouTube charts. It had present day, it has over 14 million views. And so I used some of the money from that to just, that was like my dream car. And I've been having that car ever since. And before that, I had another car. But that one, I had another Mercedes that I bought with the YouTube money, but that one ended up having a lot of problems with it. So I ended up giving it to a friend, and but it is what it is. So I'm a very generous person, but yeah. So I think that, if anybody in here is somebody that is making a living from their music, I think, as somebody that makes a living solely off of music, completely, about 99.9% of, my living is made from creating music, you know what I mean? Publishing royalties. I've sold songs from my catalog as well to get lump sum payments. You know what I mean? That's another thing I would want to discuss with me. Once you have a couple hit records out there, you can keep those residuals coming in. Or with me, I parted ways with half of my royalties. I did a kind of a cool deal where I still get half of the percentage from a song that I did, but they gave me a cool little check from that. But it's nice to be able to make music and not have to do anything else. You know what I mean? It's cool. It's not necessarily about being a billionaire, even though I won't mind that. So hey, I wouldn't mind being a billionaire. Maybe that's a little bit too much though. Like, I mean, having a billion, that might be a little bit crazy. That seems like a lot of anxiety to have that kind of money. But for me, I'll be happy just being a multimillionaire. That's my goal in life, because just want to make sure all the family is, like, extended family. I want to make sure everybody's good. And you know what I mean? That's kind of my mindset is, I kind of have that mindset, provider mindset, just being an older brother. When you come up as the older sibling, whether you're, brother or sister, you're raised with that responsibility of always wanting to look out for people. So naturally, my mindset is I have kind of a provider mindset in general. So that's where my hunger comes from when it comes to, trying to get more hit records and not being foolish and blowing all the money that I make and that kind of stuff. And, but and I'm not where, me personally as a musician, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm able to travel whenever I want. I'm able to look out, take care of my family. I'm able to, buy the music equipment that I want. I'm able to rent nice looking condos and, penthouse condos with cool views and of the, Capitol Lake views and all kinds of stuff like that. So I live a real modest life from music, but that's all I have to do. I don't have to answer to much of anybody. I just get to do what I want. I get to do what I want all day, and that's kind of a cool feeling. And I'm just trying to do it. I'm trying to do it as a millionaire one day. So maybe before I get too old, I can live like this, but as a millionaire. But I'm already living the life that if I had $10 million right now, I mean, which I probably would never leave 10 mil in my checking account because that's crazy. But if I had 10 million right now, my life wouldn't really change much. I just do more of the same stuff. You would just see more keyboards. You would just see, you'd see a penthouse, but that's even higher up in the sky. That's obviously larger and more and more windows and more views of water. I'm a water person, right? And you'd see more Versace and like you just see more of like that's the only thing that would change. I'll just get more of what I already like. You'd see more old school Benz. I'd buy every single color of the 1997 S4 S-Class series. Like I'm kind of like a simple person. I just do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like I'd go to I'd probably go to a more expensive gym or like I just end up doing the same stuff, but just on a higher level. But you know what I mean? So, I got a long way to go when it comes to making hits. I have a few under my belt, you know what I mean? Major TikTok hit with Cookie Kawaii, a handful of YouTube viral hits, Climax, Dreams, Give You Love, Just Want to Touch, all in the tens of millions of plays plus, you know what I mean? Millions of plays. My Sierra type beat, Touch You Like That, it's about to cross 1 million plays. So I have a bunch of viral videos, and legit hits, a couple legit hits that actually, that are gold certified on the Cookie Kawaii, soon to be platinum. And so, I'm just doing it. And I got songs with, major artists that I look up to, Crazy Bone and Bone Thugs and Harmony, Al B. Sure and his son Quincy, Night and Day remake. I've had, have records that have people like 112 that shout out to Kristen Tyler. This is like, I don't even know. I don't think she even has a song online, but I've got a chance to work with people, whether in person or through email. I got a chance to work with my personal idols. Now, none of the songs with the idols have necessarily been the hits, but it's more about just accomplishing my dreams that I've had from when I was younger. I always wanted to work with Al B, got to do that. I always wanted to, work with Frankie J. I got to do that. You know what I mean? So I always wanted to work with Bone Thugs and Harmony, got to work with my favorite member, which is Crazy Bone. We have multiple records. We have about maybe 4 records, 4 or 5. There's some that he hasn't even released yet. So we got a lot of records. So shout out to Crazy Bone, man. And you can check out the playlist that I have with my placements right directly on my homepage on YouTube that shows some of the work over the years with people that I've worked with. So it's a real blessed situation. I'm real thankful to be able to do this music. That's why I put out so much, because I'm really just grateful. You know what I mean? So, but I think that, the only people that are going to survive this wave of AI takeover is the true, the visionaries, the people that are truly passionate and they put action behind their passion and they're not afraid to try new ideas. And I think the people that utilize the AI ethically, because I do believe the people that do it unethically, I do believe that it'll eventually catch up with them. So that's to all you people out there thinking that you can rip artists, bro. Is there anything you haven't learned? Things do come back around, whether you call it karma, whether you call it God's justice, or whatever you believe in. I've noticed this one thing in life. Things do catch up to people. Just look. Things eventually catch up. So if you're doing wrong and you're doing wrong, it could be good for you for years, but eventually in the end, things catch up to people that do wrong, that are living, they know in their hearts they're harming people, they're doing wrong to humans. It comes back around eventually, full circle. Maybe not in this anytime soon. Sometimes it takes 20, 30 years for for things to turn full circle on people, but it definitely does. I've seen it in real time with people that I go, wow. There's people that I've seen and I'm like, I'm surprised they haven't gotten their karma yet. But then it's like I always say that, and then I speak too soon, and then you see something and you're like, oh wow, their karma is finally hitting them. So all the people out there that's using AI unethically on musicians, oh, capitalize if you will. But I shared the story of the guy from the R&B exclusive website, life in prison. Have fun if you will, make money if you will unethically, but it will catch up to you based on the things that I've seen historically. When you try to do things unethically, that you deep down, could come back to haunt you. It usually does come back to haunt you. So for all the, the companies or anybody that's trying to capitalizing off doing artists over, trying to pull one on artists and musicians, it'll catch up to them and is going to hit them out of left field, because they might get away with it for 10, 15 years. They might get away with it for a couple, 3, 4 years. But once those laws iron out, some of those people might, be in prison or doing time. I've seen it happen. People think that this is the first time these, I don't think people think it's the first time musicians have been under attack, but sometimes it takes time. When new things come out, it can take time for the laws to catch up to it. Back in the early 2000s, when they were leaking and pirating people's music for free and all these different pirating music sites, it took time for the system to catch up to those sites. But eventually people started going to prison. Eventually people started going to jail and prison. And there was some people that was able to dodge that bullet. I don't know too much about the Napster guy, but I think he did dodge the bullet, and I think he eventually did go legit. Then Napster's going way back, but there was some people that weren't so lucky, and they're doing life in prison for pirating and leaking records. And anybody who was listening to music heavy in the early 2000s know what I'm talking about. You guys probably, if you know what I'm talking about, you most likely been on a site like a R&B exclusive. Like I said, that guy is doing life in prison, man. And I had nothing against him personally, but all I know is that he should have known not to steal people's music and profit off of it. And that's where you go wrong. He was probably more than likely just a fan, but I think things sometimes go to people's head, and you start making money and you're doing it in an unethical way where the law hasn't caught up to it yet. Eventually the law caught up and got that guy. He ain't ever getting out of prison, man. So, and that's what I think about the people that are abusing the AI when it comes to music, is that if you're not doing it in an ethical way where if you're just blatantly stealing people's music because you can get away with it for right now, I would say to those people, be careful, because these laws and these systems, they eventually do catch up, and they'll get you right when you think you're capitalizing. Are you like, oh yeah, I made a couple mil off of, stealing artists' music and putting it into the Suno, and I'm about to ball out. But then the law and the system eventually catch up, and now you're doing life in prison like the guy from the R&B exclusive site. And you guys can look that up. Those guys, they went down, bro. Yeah, so you know what I mean? But it is what it is. So stuff eventually does catch up to people. And so you're going to see a lot of companies or a lot of people taking advantage of the AI music revolution, and the people that are doing it criminally, or they're doing it unethically. I would just tell those people, really think about what you're doing in those companies. Just really think about what you're doing, because it can catch up to you. Even though there's not any specific laws that are going down right now. It's kind of everything is kind of like blurred lines at the moment. But when they iron this stuff out, trust me, there's going to be some places, possibly even companies, that go down as a result, or they're going to have to change their business model to make it more ethical or beneficial according to the law and copyright law. So I don't know when this stuff and when it will iron out and when it will be fair. But in the meantime, I see a lot of everyday normal people that are capitalizing off of remake AI music pages, and they probably won't get in trouble. But I'm speaking more so towards the actual businesses and companies themselves. They could find themselves in hot water if they, practice unethical, you know, things when it comes if they're doing unethical musical practices with the AI. It could eventually catch up to some of these companies, and you're going to see it in real time play out. And you know, so hopefully they can make some of these companies more ethical, and they can iron out all the blurred lines when it comes to music copyright and AI, because I think AI can be a wonderful thing if it's done unethical, not unethical, but I think it can be a great thing if it's used ethically, if it's used in the proper way. I do think it could be a beautiful marriage between humans and Chat GBT assisting songwriters with lyrics. I think that's a great thing. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody going on Chat GPT and getting help with lyrics. That's cool. It's giving you ideas and stuff like that. But when you get people, taking hardworking independent artists and fully just robbing their song and then trying to promote it and monetize it for their own company, the chickens are eventually going to come to roost for you. I'm not going to cuss on here. I'm monetized, so I'm not going to cuss on here, but the chickens will come to roost for you. Samuel Jackson words. Just if you know Samuel Jackson, you know what he'd be saying right now. The chickens will be coming to roost for you. This right now. Yeah, boy. Yeah, the chickens coming to roost for you, AI companies. Best believe that. Believe that. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, no, for real. I believe the chickens will come to roost for these AI companies that are abusing musicians in real time. And if they are, you know what I mean? I've heard there's rumors of wars, and I've heard rumors about them possibly stealing and possibly taking people's music. What's good, Cortez Smith? Appreciate you. I heard about them possibly stealing and possibly taking musicians and putting them in their system without their consent and not paying them. Would you believe that? Would you believe that they don't want to pay people? Let's see what's going to happen there. Well, I believe that the laws and the copyright laws eventually are going to develop in such a way where it's going to catch up to some of these places that are unethically robbing musicians. Might not happen now. So there's going to be people that capitalize and make a couple bucks. But I do believe, the people that are robbing and stealing from musicians for their AI, I do believe there will be laws in place that eventually catch up to the people that are abusing it. Now, how they will go down, I don't know exactly. Maybe they might have to cough up money, or who knows. But I do believe there will be some form of justice. I personally believe that because I do think, karma is a real thing. I believe the energy you put out has to come back to you. You know what I mean? So I truly believe that. I truly believe that's my personal belief. I think that if you're a good person, I think good things will come your way if you do good deeds. My grandma used to, my Oma's from Germany, mixed race guy here. But she always used to tell me, do one good deed every day and it'll come back to you in some kind of way. We don't know what kind of way, but it'll eventually, that good deed will be paid back to you. Pay it forward, basically. So that's my thoughts right now on the AI music. I think, shout out to the people that are using it in an ethical way and not robbing musicians. But the places that are robbing musicians, I think, yes, they will capitalize momentarily. Then I eventually believe that, they're going to get their comeuppance, how you say it? Come upkins or whatever. they're going to get, the chickens are going to come home to roost for those people that are abusing musicians by way of completely stealing their material and trying not to pay them. It might not happen yet, but I eventually believe the laws will catch up, and there will be more and more musicians like me and other people and that are going to fight and make sure that certain laws are in place so it doesn't become, to a point where it's okay to just steal, right? Because right now, if a real person can get sued, like Robin Thicke got sued for Marvin Gaye, Blurred Lines. I've been mentioning Blurred Lines, so that's kind of a perfect example. I keep saying Blurred Lines, because Robin Gaye and Pharrell and T.I., they did the record Blurred Lines, right? And it was heavily influenced by Marvin Gaye's song, Disco Baby, Disco in the party, something fun, Disco Baby. So it was influenced by, that Marvin Gaye song. And, Marvin Gaye's family won that in court, you know what I mean? So I don't know how much they've been paid from it thus far, or how the whole payout works, but they won that. They won. And, Robin Thicke and Pharrell, they lost that in court. And, they were probably pretty bummed out because obviously they're just inspired by Marvin Gaye. And more than anything, I think that, like a Robin Thicke and Pharrell, it's more of a tribute because obviously Robin Thicke's a major fan of R&B soul and Marvin Gaye. So I actually felt bad for them that happened because I think that they were more so trying to pay tribute. I think what that should have happened with their situation is I think they should have just agreed that the song's very similar. And I think they should have gave away a portion of the royalties. But I from what I have heard, I think they lost all royalties for it. And I'm not completely sure, but shout out to Robin Thicke and Pharrell and T.I. Also, shout out to Marvin Gaye, man. Rest in peace. Obviously, yeah, was a good Rico. Yes, you say still need human music. AI will never be relatable. I absolutely agree. So, and that's kind of what I've been talking about here is that musicians and real artists, we all need to fight and make a stand and speak out about what's right and wrong when it comes to this whole AI music revolution. I think, like I said, if you're using AI ethically, I had stated earlier that some people are using AI to help them write lyrics. I think that's cool. Like if you get writer's block and you type in a certain theme and the AI helps you come up with a line or two, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's an ethical way to use it, right? But when it comes to companies, and I won't say their names, but when it comes to certain companies blatantly just robbing musicians and throwing it into the whole AI system and then trying not to pay them, that's ridiculous. But I do think that AI music will never completely take over real humans. I think people are always going to want to see real humans performing and going. You're not going to want to see an AI bot perform, maybe for fun to laugh at, but just to see it to say, hey, I saw an AI performing. But I think people are always going to want a real musician with a real heart that can connect to their audience. And but like I said, I think we all, all of us musicians, artists, singers, we should all be concerned in the sense that we're going to need to stand up for our rights. And I think that's where musicians need to be concerned, is where our copyright rights are, and making sure that we speak out. And even if it comes to it, we might have to file lawsuits or start petitions or do certain things to make sure that these companies can't rob us legally. And I believe that will work out in time. Right now, there's a lot of, like I said, blurred lines, like Robin Thicke. Shout out to Robin Thicke and Pharrell. There's a lot of blurred lines when it comes to music and AI right now, and it'll eventually be ironed out, I believe, in the future. I do think you will see more AI Spotify artists and that kind of stuff pop up. There's definitely going to be more of it. And I bet you right now, there's probably people that you're listening to on Spotify right now as I speak that are AI and you have no clue, because that's just how good the AI is getting. For most people can't hear the difference. So there's probably some artists that you're listening to that's not real on Spotify right now, that's AI, and you don't even know. And that's the sad part, is because they're flooding these DSPs, Spotify and Apple Music. They're getting flooded with AI music, and the average person just doesn't always know. And the average listener these days is not everybody's a super fan anymore. Sometimes you get people that are just listening to a playlist and they don't know what is real and fake sometimes. So it gets pretty interesting. So that's pretty much all I got to say about that. Like Forrest Gump, word to Forrest Gump. That's all I got to say about that. You know what I mean? So this is your boy Tony Sway, and make sure you get in your super chats. If you can't super chat, make sure you at least like the video. And if you don't want to do that, and if you're an artist and singer, maybe you can go to TonySwayMusic.com and get my 20 beat lease package for the price of one. So you can get a unlimited lease beat package for $150, 20 beats that you have the unlimited lease to, and you can rock out and make music before the AI beats you to the punch. Because that's one thing that AI can do, is it can work 24/7, right? AI can definitely work 24/7 for if you musicians out there. If you guys get lazy, AI is going to come through. And I'm not saying they're going to completely take over, but that's one thing that musicians need to fear laziness. Because if you're a lazy musician, that's where AI could kind of mess with you, because somebody could put something in the AI and have it spit out hundreds of songs, right? And so if you're an artist that just wants to record one song a year, people like that are probably not going to make it anymore. You know what I mean? So, maybe there'd be here, one and there, a one hit wonder here and there, but the lazy and the unpassionate are not going to thrive in the new music world. It's, the lazy and the unpassionate musicians they're not going to thrive anymore. Because sometimes there is a lazy musician, an artist here and there. They might throw something on a SoundCloud and it might blow up, and they kind of just get lucky, but they're not really grinding. Like, shout out to Russ, man, because he grinds. He's an artist that I truly respect. He's one of the newer artists, and his work ethic is absolutely insane. And I think a lot of musicians and artists should learn from somebody like a Russ, that you have to be passionate and you have to continuously put the work in and build your brand like a Russ. You said, Rico says, yeah, major artists should be fighting against AI. Drake and Cardi been using it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Drake and Cardi's been using it or not. I won't confirm, because I don't want to get in, I'm not trying to get in trouble with, I'm a fan of Drake. I got Drake in the background here. Shout out to Drake. Trying to get a record with you, player. Know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what it is, man. So, I'm over here grinding in the studio. You see the Prophet 6, you see the Moog Muse, you see the PMW Mantis, you see the MPC-X, you under dig, you know what I mean? Getting real saucy over here. Pause, got the Versace on, you know what I mean? Got the watch, T-Sway, stay fresh to death, you know what I mean? That's how we do it over here. So that's what it is, man. So that's about it. So if you found value in this discussion and you want to support the Tony Sway brand, make sure you drop your super chat or go over and get my 20 beat lease package. Unlimited is recommended, 150 for 20 beats right now, or you can get the non-exclusive package, 20 beats for $50 as well at TonySwayMusic.com. And if you can't do any of those things, then what are you doing on my video? If you ain't here to talk about the AI and you ain't here because you don't know my beats, then what you doing on my video, player? I'm trying to get paid, brother, sister. I'm trying to get paid. You know what I mean? So it's your light-skinned brother, Tony Sway, in the building. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. God bless everybody. I love everybody. I like to I like to have fun and have heated discussions about this. And let me know what y'all think. And just, drop a line, drop a note. Let me know what y'all think, and support the TonySwayMusic.com brand. I appreciate you guys. The very least you could do is like the video. I got new music on the way, new songs as well. I'm still recording. I'm still recording. Like I said, I'm very passionate about music as a whole. I love producing, but I'm also still recording here and there as well. So that's it for tonight, y'all. I appreciate everybody. And I was kicking it with you guys for an hour. So yeah. All right, y'all. Have a blessed night and stay breezy, stay fly. This is your boy Tony Sway. Yeah.